Josh, I'm wearing this blue for a very special reason today.
What's that?
New Orleans natives know this blue as Children's Museum Door Blue, and today we're going to have the Louisiana Children's Museum on.
So what are they talking to us about today?
The Louisiana Children's Museum just received a $2.5 million grant from the Lilly Endowment. With that money, they'll be able to age up their programming. So currently they serve up to age 8 or 9, and what they're doing is adding a new exhibit that will be for kids up to age 14. And then creating a new teen mentorship program for high school students.
Awesome. And who do we have today to talk to us about this initiative?
Their CEO, Tifferney White, will be joining us today.
Can't wait to hear what she has to say. Let's bring her on out.
Tiffany!
Missions by
Welcome, Tiffany. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So as a Louisiana Children's Museum kid growing up here, I'm very excited to hear you guys are aging up.
Yes.
And what inspired this evolution for you all?
So as I came in and I really started listening to the community and what the community needed, I kept hearing my kids have aged out, or my kids are older, or we haven't been to the new location in City Park because my children are this age. And I had never really heard that in any other city before. And so after thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? There's no science center here. And typically science centers and children's museums work together. And science centers will, if children's museums have the younger children and they take them up through age 8, then the science center pick them up around age 9 and they take them through high school. When you don't have that, then the children's museum kind of drops them off at 8 or 9, and then what happens, right? And so this idea of aging up was really listening to the community and people saying, we don't have any place for our children, not a museum. Yes, there are places for children to go, but not a museum setting like Louisiana Children's Museum. So for us, it was one of our strategic objectives and our strategic agenda was to age up. We just didn't know when that was going to come.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think as a child growing up, I think the most memorable experience I have, I still remember the science center where I grew up in Mobile. Like, you know, kids just it generated this love for interactiveness. It generated this love for seeing things being made and done and science in general. And it generated this love for electronic music. Because, man, they had this little thing. I still remember this day. It's a song. It's like, whoa. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll clip that, but it'll be great. But anyway, it's this electronic music song, and I still remember it. And it was these little guys, and they were like magnetic, and it's just like that's the power of science, though. It's a memory that sticks with you, and I think kids in general just want that experience.
And it's this interactive experience, right? Yeah. And we felt like, you know what? Louisiana Children's Museum can be someplace that older children learn too.
Yeah.
And so why not just jump into this? And so we were just looking for what opportunity we would have to do that. And this opportunity came.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys have it because as a local, I didn't realize what I was missing growing up and that like the Children's Museum just like drops off until I became an adult, went to other cities and then experienced like, oh, this hand in hand that you talk about Children's Museum to Science Center connection.
Yes. And as someone that has worked in both, it's very apparent to me. It just wasn't apparent as people were talking about it because I just couldn't figure out why am I hearing something different than I've always heard before until I really started thinking about it. And I'm like, I got it.
Yeah.
It's the Science Center missing.
Yeah. Because I guess, too, you mentioned that that's kind of what you heard from the community. I guess, can you go in depth more about those conversations you had within the community about?
Yes, absolutely. So when I came in, a lot of people were saying, what's your vision? What is going to be your vision for Louisiana Children's Museum? And I thought as a leader, that would be reckless. I'm in a new city. I don't know this city. I know children's museums. I have a long history in children's museums and science museums, but not in New Orleans. And so to come into the city and just say, oh, this is what you need would not be a good place to start. And so after talking to the board, I said, what I really want to do is I want to hear about from others, what are the needs of the city? what are the aspirations of the city? What do people want for children? And so I was able to consult the New Orleans Youth Master Plan for part of that. And, we used that as we were working, the board and I were working together. We used that as a basis for data and for hearing children's voice, because you had a document that already had it in there, right? And so that was awesome to have that already built, and you can use that as a reference. But then the other piece was, okay, well, what other things am I hearing? And so as I was listening, I said, okay, I'm going to listen. I talked to elected officials. I talked to board members. I talked to parents. I talked to donors. I talked to teachers and administrators, children. And throughout all those conversations, that's how we were able to build our strategic agenda. Because what we really wanted was for the Children's Museum to meet the needs of the community. And in order to do that, we have to listen. And so that was the first step, just listening. And so we spent maybe the first year really listening to what folks were saying, what they said they wanted, and, they wanted to see what those needs were. And then we looked at what the Children's Museum could do to meet those needs and tried to marry those two together. And that is our strategic agenda.
That's awesome.
So what does aging up mean to you and to LCM?
So for us, aging up is really looking at, what are the ways in which Louisiana Children's Museum can meet the needs of children that are over the age of 8 years old. And so when we look at what we can do to meet those needs, it's very unique to who we are. So we don't want to do what other organizations are doing. There's lots of organizations out there that are working with teens and preteens. We want to do it in the way that's authentic for Louisiana Children's Museum. And we have a platform that children and families come to visit. And what we found is that a near peer model works really well. These younger children look at these older children like they're rock stars. And so that is the key to getting that learning in for us. And we learned that last summer when we did this pilot program. We did a pilot program with high school students, and we worked with them and, worked with them on presentation skills and how to work with children and what content they may be able to share with children, being able to tell stories and read to children and those kinds of things. And then they were able to test that out. And what we saw was that these children were very receptive to them, and they were looking at them like they were superstars. And so we were like, we got it. We can pull in these younger children by using the older children. And that's authentic for us because we have this place-based learning space in which we can allow older children to learn in the space and then translate that learning to younger families.
Yeah, everyone both of those age groups benefit. And I have an older sister and lots of older cousins. And so I definitely relate to what you're talking about of like, remember being younger and being like, oh my God, they are so cool.
Exactly.
Everything they do is so awesome. I want to be just like them. And so that really resonates, I think. And, is how you get kids interested in stuff like science, right? If the cool older kids are doing it, I want to be in the science too.
I want to do that too,
Genius.
right? And then you try something because that is what the experience at the museum is all about, trying new things, right? So then they try it and they're like, I think I like it. And then they lean more into that. And now we have someone interested in science and may take that further, and we don't know. Become the next astronaut, become the next chemist, become the next biologist. We just don't know.
But I mean, and to me too, it's also like I was bringing up too, is just, I think it's so powerful because it's those memories that people are going to stick with them, for a lifetime, you know?
Right.
And, I think science is something not to be scoffed at, and it's some of the most beautiful things that happen. And so you're bringing that to the masses, which is commendable on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
20 plus years from now, one of these kids might be on a podcast and sing a
God.
song.
You want me to sing more of it?
Exactly.
I didn't even sing the words yet. I was just singing the beginning part because that's the part that happens over and over again. So you hear that part, but actually the lyrics are something that I forget. But it's like, get your body on the dance floor is what I remember. Get your body on the dance floor. So it's like that's the part I do remember. So it's like, oh man, all right, look up that song because we're gonna play it right now. But yeah, it's a good song. Good
Good
song. I
song.
love that song.
But
That's
yeah,
what I'm
those
saying.
memories,
Those
those
memories.
memories,
I
locked in.
remember a lot of it, but that part, forever. Locked away.
And you talk about the memories, that's one of the things that's also authentic to the Children's Museum.
Right.
It's a space where families can have those memories together,
Yeah.
right? So it's families having those memories, children having their own memories that they're building,
Yeah.
and then them working with older children and having those memories.
Mhm.
So we feel like we're creating this, space
Mm.
where these positive memories can happen.
Yeah.
And they look back and say, oh, you know what? I remember my time at the Children's Museum. They can share that with their children as they're growing.
That's great. Well, and I want to make sure too we round back out to it because I know this is all possible because of this grant that you all just received.
Yes.
Can you kind of give us some feedback and what, like, kind of, I kind of want to know what it was all entailing, what happened, the Lilly Endowment, what did it all mean basically?
So the Lilly Endowment chose, we were one of 23 museums that they chose. And originally they chose us as a pilot. And so, they're really interested in character education, and they feel like that is a way that children can positively embrace their futures. And so they asked these museums to look at ways in which they can authentically represent character in their environment. So some museums have chosen to do that through, building these big storybooks. Some museums have chosen to do that through programming. Some museums have chosen that to transform an exhibit space. We've chosen to embrace older children with ours. And so we were able to do a prototype last summer. And that prototype allowed us to leverage children that were coming in. And I say children, but really they're high schoolers. And they came in through some partner organizations that we have, the Mayor's Office of Youth and Families, Kid Smart, Sci-Hi. And the reason we chose those programs were because they were already offering children stipends. They were offering those teenagers compensation for being placed and working in other organizations. And that's the model that we wanted. We wanted to be able to offer that compensation because that allows all children to participate, right? So those children that need that stipend to be able to do a program like this because they need to be able to, help support the family or whatever they're doing with those funds are able to participate, and other children are able to participate in the program. And so we were able to do that last summer. And what we learned was that, first of all, the younger children are learning so much more because they obviously like these teenagers better than they do us. And so we thought, okay, that's a win, right? And we were also providing experiences to these younger children that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And then these teens walk away with these experiences that are almost like workforce development for them, right? And so we were teaching them life skills and leadership and, presentation skills and all these things that come along with their first job. And so we felt like there were all wins. So let's lean into this. And so then the Lilly Endowment said, we are now opening up this prototype. After you've done the prototyping, we're opening this up to an implementation phase. And so you can apply for an implementation grant. And so we applied for that grant. We asked for the top of what they allowed us to ask for. That was $2.5 million, and we got it.
Dang!
And
all right.
so
that's what I call making bold moves.
That's what I'm talking
all
about,
right.
And we were so excited that the Lilly Endowment was investing in Louisiana Children's Museum, but also in the children in the New Orleans community. And so we had basically a two-pronged project that we presented to them. One was, we want to lean into this prototype that we had with high school students, and we want to be able to offer them stipends to participate in a program like that. So we want to be able to serve more children in New Orleans through that program, and authentically the way the museum would do it. And then the other part of that was, okay, we have a gap now between high school and these children that are up through age 8. So we want to also be able to serve these children and work with these children. So how do we do that? We do that through exhibitions, because typically the tweens are not developmentally at an age where they are going to be working a first job, right? So they're still enjoying exhibits in the museum. So let's create exhibitions in the museum, character development as the baseline for those exhibitions, and then they can have an experience in that space. So now not only are young children enjoying the time, but if they have older siblings, they have a space in which they can enjoy. If children are now aging out, they are not aging out anymore because they have the space now to be able to enjoy time in the museum. So that two-prong was that was a great win for us because we were able to now close the gap between these younger children, age 8, that we were traditionally serving and not stepping away from. We still will embrace the younger children, but now we're able to add the tweens and the teenagers to that.
What can people expect from this new programming and the new exhibit?
So I think that what they can expect is they can expect us next year to start working on it. We have lots of concepts that we presented to the Lilly Endowment, and they were very excited about those concepts. We were leaning into who we are as a community. So here in New Orleans, community is important. Neighborliness is important. Us being able to be in community with each other. We do that a lot, right? We do that through crawfish boils. We do that through Jazz Fest that just was last weekend and the weekend before. We do that through Mardi Gras, right? So let's do it in a way that's authentic. So the space will feel a lot like that communion space that you have in New Orleans. And then the exhibitions will be exhibitions that will help people to embrace those character traits. So if one of them is teamwork, we work together. Our neighbors support each other. And that's why we feel so good in this community, because you're supported. Well, there will be an exhibition that you have to have a neighbor to help you to do that particular part of the exhibition. And so there will be exhibition inside of the museum, and then we'll have some pieces that are located outside as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
And so
great.
we'll start development of that within a year. And then over the next 2 years, we'll be building that out.
Wow.
The 2 years after that. And then it'll open.
Okay. Wow.
To
So,
the
all right.
public.
What is
That's
that?
great.
2028?
That's 2028. You got it.
Getting
Look at
in
you.
there. All right.
Yes,
Hey, I did
yes.
some math back
I
in the day.
know.
That STEM paid off, baby. Let me tell
That
you.
Science Museum.
Yeah, let me tell you, it got me real into that math and science. All right, stuck with it. And that's not just because I'm Asian. But that is fantastic. I love that.
And the threading that community into it, and I think that's it's so important to start at a young age, because that is who carries that baton of keeping community alive in the city. The next generation. What have you guys learned so far from the pilot program?
So what we learned from the pilot program is that, these younger children love their older siblings and older children, and that they actually learn a lot from them. So we could leverage learning better by leveraging the older children. So that was one thing that we learned through the pilot. The other thing that we learned is that this is a space that we really feel comfortable in. And I think that it's because we did it authentically like we would do it, right? It's not like we said, okay, we're going to do this thing that everybody else is doing. We're saying we're already a museum. We already have these experiences. This is what's already a part of what we do and who we are. Let's just bring children in and help them to be able to leverage that space when it comes to working with younger children. So we feel like this is already what we do. We're not making up anything new or different.
Yeah.
That's a unique approach, and I feel like it probably makes you and your team more supported in that, of like, we're not stepping out of our mold. Even though we're now going to be serving a older group, it's still what we were doing every day, so it just should feel like the norm for everybody. And you guys can, as you said, more authentically just continue this work and bring in new faces.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the other thing that that has not been lost on us is that children of high school age have special, needs sometimes, and that we might not have had experience with, right? So we have experience with this environment of interactive exhibits and working with children to be able to do that. But if they have needs that are past that, we feel like we have other partners in the community that we can point to. And so we're not trying to do the work of others.
Yeah.
We know that we don't know everything and we can't do it all on our own, but we know that there are others in the community that are doing great work too. And if we can collaborate with another partner where 5 + 5 = 20, that's the partner that we want to collaborate. We want to be able to amplify the impact that we have. And if we can do that with a partner, then that means it's the right partner. If it's a partner that, we can work together alongside each other and it's 5 + 5 = 10, then maybe we just do our own work, right? We do what we do and they do what they do and we wait until the next opportunity. But if we know that we can amplify that impact by working with someone, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so we will look for other partners to help where we know it's not our area of expertise. So if there are wraparound services that, teens may need that is not our area of expertise, we will be reaching out to our partners to help with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess, and that's a good point on that same topic is, how in the community, I know this programming is going to be a little ways out, but what ways can people kind of get involved with it now leading into that, and, ways they can support the organization and or join in on anything that's coming up that is involved with, this 3-year period?
So lots of ways. I would say if they are community partners that are also doing this kind of work and they feel like we might be able to make a bigger impact together, let us know. Because, we want to look at what that looks like and explore the synergies that are that we may have together. Those that may be looking to support a program that is doing well for our community, we invite them to support us. And, we never have enough resources. Yes, we just got this big gift from the Lilly Endowment, but that is going directly to kids.
Yeah.
We want, there are stipends that are in there. We want to be able to give those kids that money back. So, a lot of the money that we are getting in is so that we can support the program and do it in a way that allow children to be able to participate, allow these teenagers to be able to participate in the program. So we invite those who have means and want to be able to support us to look at ways in which they can do that. And we have lots of those ways.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
So if they are interested in supporting an organization that wants to do successful work with the community, Louisiana Children's Museum is the organization for that.
I love it. And how do they do that?
And they can call me directly.
Oh, hot dang. Hotlines on.
Yes.
No, bring it on. All right, there we go.
They can reach out to me directly. And I would love to share with them the work that we have going on at the museum and how we might be able to have them be involved and invest in our future.
All right. And then and so would they go to the website and find that information?
They can go to the website and find that information. My email is very easy, twhite@lcm.org.
Easy
so
peasy.
Send me an email.
I love it.
Either myself or Brandy will reach out and set up a meeting and we can chat.
Love it.
Yes.
Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And anybody with little kids, go check out the children.
Little kids. Get in
Anybody
there.
with little kids, yes. I mean, we are a place that families can have amazing experiences. And I say families, that's non-traditional families, whatever your family looks like, right? So if it's TT and the nieces, if it's whoever, come on in, have these experiences with children that are in your family. I meet a lot of people that are like, I don't have children yet, but they have children somewhere around.
If you're child adjacent,
Child adjacent, come on down.
Go ahead and bring
You're doing
those
them a
kids
disservice
in.
by not
You
doing
got
it.
it. You got it. Visit the Children's Museum. We would love to have you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we have one more question
Okay.
to wrap things up here.
Okay.
My question, and this is for everybody,
that's
is
it.
if you had a museum of your own that you curated, what would be in your museum?
What would be in your
What museum would you curate?
Oh. That's a good question.
Hey, I'll pick some like a season.
2 things pop into my mind.
Okay, wow. You can have anything you want in there, so they can both be in there.
I'm like, do we make this one museum?
You can make, this is your museum. You put whatever you
may
want
have
in it.
15 museums by the time we get done with this conversation.
The first thing I was like, I want something weird and crafty, like yarn. Like I'd want a yarn museum.
Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, I like that.
Second thing would be Louisiana history.
Oh, yes.
But
Yeah.
like really, in depth, like the deep cuts of Louisiana history.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
okay. Like all of it, or like
I guess I'd have to reel in certain things. I'd probably say New Orleans, Acadiana area, because that is what means the most to me personally. But I feel like there's so many historical stories, around French influence and all these different things that have just been lost that I'd love to talk about, and just like people who had who did great things from Louisiana and like are just kind of lost because they're not like a musician or a sports player, so
yeah. I love it. Dang, that's great.
I like it.
All right. Okay. What you got, Tiffany?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm a scientist at heart.
Okay,
chemistry
perfect.
degree.
The Louisiana Children's Museum, I don't know if you know this, is building something just for science.
I heard about that.
So that's going to be a place for you.
I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, I would lean into the sciences.
Okay.
Just because.
Anything in particular, or?
Well, chemistry is my love.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I have an undergraduate degree in chemistry,
Nice.
so
Okay.
That's where I kind of
So the
got my
chemistry
start.
museum. There needs to be more chemistry.
Yeah.
I was like, that would be a fun
Because it's everything. It's
I was gonna say,
everywhere.
how
right?
it applies to everything.
Yeah.
There's someone I follow on Instagram, and he talks about the chemistry of makeup and products and like all the different. And I'm like, sucked in.
You can't do anything without touching chemistry in one way or another.
I'm going to tell you,
Not
got to
one
look up
single
this
thing.
guy on YouTube. His name's Niall Red. And he
Ah.
does all this crazy stuff with chemistry. He's made hot sauce out of latex gloves. He's made like because you think about it, all these things are just chemicals, and he's able to like break them down,
and then make them into
something else,
And
and it's
he's, like,
insane. He's
putting
like
them on food?
Well, he's making them into food. He's like taking the chemical combinations. He's like researched
I'm
the
with you.
chemical
I don't know if I
combinations
eat it.
of
Like, it's cool to watch, but
I mean, yeah, there's a disclaimer.
Okay.
But you watch it,
I
you'll
got
be
some
impressed.
homework then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
he
Niall.
it's Niall Red,
Niall
crazy
Red.
YouTube channel. If you love chemistry, that is where you're at. Because I'm telling you, he's done all kinds of inanimate objects into food and different things, and it's like you're like, wow, like that's impressive. But that's not what I'd have in my museum. But it's close.
So what would you have in your museum?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. I would have, so my thing is I'm always really big on interactive experiences. And I mean, I'd probably have all kinds of different museums if I could, but like the biggest museum I think that comes to my mind is I love things. I don't know if you've ever been to Meow Wolf.
Yes.
But Jam Nola right now is building kind of like a similar feel. I got a chance to see it. It's very fantastic. So hopefully, shout out to Jam Nola. But I love experiences like Meow Wolf, where they have everything's interactive. Everything you touch has it's like not just art, but it's like interactive art.
Yes.
But like a lot of times they close some down, or I think Omega Mart might have been closed down, which is in the Vegas one, which is like a shopping center. But it's like, to me, I would love to have a museum that's like all those experiences kind of wrapped up and like repurposed, and placed back into a place. Because like I would just, to me, I mean, man, I went to one Meow Wolf with a kid, and that kid went nuts. And I was just like, and it's just like to be able to see that and enjoy it myself. And, there's just so much levels to it. I would love to have like a giant, like curated, like interactive museum that is in some way. I mean, it can incorporate all kinds of elements. It can incorporate Louisiana, and incorporate chemistry.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if you thought, but like, I feel like there's a upcycle to it too, right? Because there's exhibits that are used for special events, and then just like tossed away, and it's like, no, bring that over here. Yeah,
bring it in, make it interactive, or combine it with elements, and and really make just like this really cool hodgepodge interactive museum.
I like this,
and I love hodgepodge too.
Yeah, and I like
sustainability.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's this dressmaker that I saw the other day that's making like dresses out of like repurposed recycled materials like straws and like paper plastic bags, and they look really cool. And I'm like, man, that's the kind of dressmaking I can get behind.
Yes.
Okay. You have to share that with us as well.
Yeah, she's pretty. Yeah, you like her. Yeah, she's really legit. So like, anything upcycled, recycled, like that's just cool. So,
Well,
That's what
we're
I do.
in that we're at that place in our world where that matters
Yeah.
now, right? You know,
sure.
because we don't want that going into the landfill. We
Yeah.
don't want, you know, we want to make sure that we're being
Yeah.
sustainable.
Well, and
So
on a corporate
I
scale
love
too.
that.
It's
Yeah.
like if you could do that on a big scale versus just like, because like, you know,
Yes,
it's
just
like the big
individual.
perpetrators of the corporations. Well, long story
Right.
short, man, you got me on. You'll get me on that topic. I'll
Oh
talk
my
all
gosh,
day.
where are we going
Oh
now?
my God. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Tiffany.
you
This was
for
fantastic.
coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a wonderful time.
Thanks for listening to Missions Bayou, powered by Comfy Stone. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast wherever you listen. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment, letting us know your thoughts and who you'd like to hear from next. We'll see y'all next time.